Peace and blessings, family. My name is Jay. Today I'll talk to you guys today about something different, and this time it'll be in the field of astrology, but more in particular regarding astrology, the signs of the Zodiac. So, saying that there's 12 signs in the Zodiac, um, and nine times out of 10 you're probably familiar with them. Those 12 signs are Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, or Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Whew. One second. Okay. With that being said, obviously I'm going to start off with the first sign in Zodiac, which is what for this video. Excuse me. And the first sign. Sorry about that. And the first sign is the first sign is Aries. So let me begin. What is the sign Aries about? What does it represent? What role does it play in this? What role does it play out of all the 12 signs in Zodiac? Well, first things first. Aries is a fire sign. It is the fire element. And what does the fire element deal with? It deals with our drive, our creativity, our expression, our power, and our force. In other words, it deals with anything in regards to our masculinity. But more so, it deals with the feelings. So where is that going to go with that? It deals with the feelings, the emotions, is the way to look at it. But it deals more so with expressing them, not holding it in, which is what the water element is known for. And so there's that in a nutshell. And then it is of the cardinal modality. There's 3 modalities: cardinal, fixed, and mutable. It is the cardinal modality. And what does the cardinal modality deal with? It deals with initiating, creating, or another way of saying initiating or initiation is to take the initiative. In other words, to take the lead. In a nutshell. So now we know that Aries is cardinal fire, and you put cardinal, which is initiating, taking the initiative, with fire, expression or expressing, drive, being energetic and passionate. You have someone who, you have the fire starter. You have the fire starter, or a born leader, or a very passionate individual. In a nutshell. So you can breaking it down like that, you can kind of see why Aries have Aries or Aryan people tend to have this reputation of being very impulsive or rash or hot-headed or very uncontrollable, because that's just the way they are. And for that same reason, they talking about this kind of leads into more like the negative and bad side of Aries, more so the weaknesses. But I want to talk about that later. I want to get more in depth about what the sign represents and things that are associated with it. So we know that the animal that is associated with Aries is the ram, and just like the name of the animal, the ram does like the ram with its head, which isn't a coincidence, seeing that Aries is also ruled by the head. But then there's also for each and every sign in the zodiac, there's also a planetary ruler, and the planetary ruler of Aries, the planetary ruler of the sign Aries is Mars. and anybody who's familiar with astrology or not knows that Mars is it's a fiery red planet, a very masculine planet. And saying that, you can kind of tell that the planet Mars, explaining it like that, you can kind of tell that the planet Mars deals with, masculinity, deals with masculinity, fertility, sex drive, um, our force, the way we use it, and any other thing, any other things that deal with masculinity is what the planet Mars is going to represent. And then, in a nutshell, and so this is putting that out there also explains another reasons for why Aries tend to be so aggressive and energetic, because they like to initiate their own, they like to initiate their own, they like to initiate and take the initiative on their own passions, and they have the energy, they have the energy and the fire to do it. And then they also just so happen to be ruled by the planet, which is the planet of masculinity. So what you have here is you have a very masculine individual, whether it's a man or a woman. The fact of the matter is their sign is Aries, so they're going to have this energy regardless. But that goes into different things. Anyway, with all that being said, you can see why they are so impulsive or hot-headed, rash, very act first, question later, think later, however you want to look at that. And what's saying that that's the good thing about and actually saying that this is the good thing about Aries. They, when they feel like something's got to get done, or when they want something to get done, they get it done. But then this, in a nutshell. But then here's the bad side. Here's the bad side, and kind of when you explain the good side of something, you can kind of tell what the bad side of it is going to be. And since they're so since Aries can be very, and since their nature is to just be very impulsive and not so much impulsive and rash, but that's more subjective. But since the nature of an Aries is to be like the initiator and the fire starter, they usually that's just how it is. That's just how it is. They have to, they're meant to experience it first and then learn from it later. That's just their spirit. And anyway, back to what I was saying. The bad side about this is that they usually because they're fiery at heart, they don't get the time to think something through before they actually do it. And say if it's in a relationship, they may say something to that. They may do something that affects their partner in a way that they didn't know, because they were more so focused on doing a certain thing because of an impulse that they may have had, or an impulse that they may have had, an instinctive urge that they may have had, and they didn't take into consideration just knowing how they are. They weren't able to take into consideration what their partner may have thought, and so this will end up having the partner may end up expressing this. But this is also subjective. I don't want to get too subjective about it. Basically, this is a sign that's very independent, and at the same time, that's that's Aries' greatest strength. And then if you know the law of polarity, you know that everything has a if you know the law of polarity, if you're familiar with the law of polarity, you know that everything has a polar opposite, which is what I kind of want to bring to this video. And that's you can't have strength without weakness. And so Aries' greatest strength, which is independence, is also the greatest weakness, because Aries can be too independent to the point where they start to come off they'll come off like that. They may not be how they really are. If you want to get into how they really are, you go look up like the moon sign for that. which is who a person which deals with a person's like unconscious things that they just naturally do, but that can be that'll be explained at some other point in time. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about Aries coming off as a person who doesn't need others. This usually isn't the case. They just, they act on their, they act on their hunches. They act on their impulses and trust their hunches and all that. They don't really, they don't rationalize, think it through. They just act on it. And so this, like I was saying, this will lead to people thinking that they don't have, that they do not have a conscience or that they're careless. And this isn't true. They just, they just trust in what they feel and believe, kind of like the other fire signs in Zodiac, which are Leo, Sagittarius, but we'll get to them when they get to them. Anyway, like I was saying, they tend to come off very independent, very passionate a lot. So what do they have to do? When you understand polarities and opposites, naturally what they need to do to help balance out their own life or their own relationships or friendships, they have to get around either the opposite element, which is water, so that they can have some of that, so that some of that fire can be cooled down. And he says, add some, sprinkle that fire, cool it down a little bit, or they can get around their opposite sign, which is Libra, which is a sign that deals with the opposite of independence, which is codependence. And Libras are codependent in particular because they deal with partnerships and relationships, not so much with others, not so much the relationship with the self, which is what the fire signs, or which is what any fire element is strong at. But anyway, and water, but that also goes into another video. So yeah, they just they got to get around like the opposing element or the opposing element, the opposing energy, or the opposing sign, so that it can bring balance to their life, and so that they can have that union of the masculine energy and feminine energy within themselves, and become more empowered as an individual. And in doing that, they can empower. So in doing that, they can empower others, saying, "Hey, I've lived this. I've walked this, and so I can talk this." That's kind of like what the lesson will be for Aries here. It's to develop. It's to when they experience things, after they experience the things that they get into, to develop that Libran energy, and being able to whether it's the experience with with a certain person, place, or thing, they're able to see it from that perspective. If that makes sense. So yeah, that's my take on the sign. That's my take on the sign Aries. If you guys liked it and thought it was, if you guys liked it and appreciate it, thank you. I appreciate that. And if there's something that if you want to add something to it, that's also appreciated. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it off there. Hope you got. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it off there. I'm gonna let you guys go about your day. You guys have a good afternoon, and I love you guys. Peace.